Ikemesit Effiong is the head of research at the think tank SBM Intelligence. He joins us now from Lagos in Nigeria. Really good to have you with us, Ikemesit. Let's start with these claims by the coup leaders that France is planning an attack in order to free the ousted president. What more can you tell us about that? Are those reports likely to be true?
Right now, we have very little indication that those reports are actually credible. I think the way to understand like comments like that is to really situate the relationship that France has, right, with a lot of its former colonial possessions in the region. And there's a virulent sense of anti-French sentiment, which has coursed right through the region. Take note of the fact that Niger, just like Chad and Mali and Guinea are former French possessions. And one of the themes that has run through all of the discourse and all of the dispatches, right, from all of the various military combines that have that have actually carried out those violent military takeovers has been to ramp up this sense of France being, anti-African and anti-West African and whatever the relevant country is, and that message has proven to be very popular and has some currency right across the region because France has had, a decades-long history of not only propping both elected as well as military leaders right across these countries, but in some cases it has actually orchestrated the removal of leaders that it feels are not amenable to French interest, right? So this is a tried and tested messaging tactic, right, from coup leaders and military leaders and even some civilian leaders, right across French, Western, Central Africa, and that's what you're seeing manifest right now in Niger.
Well, that's right. As you say, this anti-France sentiment has been seen in other places in the region as well. But when the pro-coup protesters marched outside of the French embassy in Niamey, they also shouted pro-Russia slogans, such as "Long live Putin," even though the Kremlin is asking for the president to be reinstated himself. Explain to us the pro-Russia sentiment that we're seeing in Niger at the moment.
Yes, so the rise in favorable sentiments towards actors like Russia, it really piggybacks off of the consternation with French and by extension Western behavior, right, in this part of the world. Russia is seen by many as a partner who asks, very little questions compared to Western actors who typically are you typically emphasize, respect for such things as human rights, and democratic freedoms. And France is also seen as a slightly more credible partner in the fight against, jihadism and other malign security elements in the region because France is more than willing to send arms and offer security cooperation to practically anyone, right, who wants it. And certainly, being the single largest supplier of arms and ammunition, right, to Africa, at least over the last 2 to 3 years, many leaders have been able to tell their publics, right, that, this is a credible alternative, right, to Western, to traditional Western, partners, right, within the region. And, Moscow has been more than willing to mirror the same, type of priorities that Niamey or Bamako, right, or Ouagadougou, right, has been able to do. There's also, the obvious situation that, there are Wagner elements, right, on the ground, right, not just in Niger, but also in some of these other West African countries. And so people can actually see, sort of the immediate Russian contribution, right, to, keeping their homes and keeping their properties, safe and free from harm. So all of that, then I think the final element is the fact that, in the light of the war in Ukraine and the West, commitments to trying to get Africans on side with its own, strategy for containing Russia, a situation which most African countries have so far been able to resist. Many people empathize with a Russia which, has been able to tell a story about it being, in effect under siege from all of these, wider and bigger geopolitical forces. And that's a sentiment that, a lot of West Africans at least can relate to, considering again the historical backdrop in the region.
Okay, Ikemesit Effiong, we will have to leave it there, but thanks so much for sharing your analysis with us.